against each other. We're working together to get God's word out across this country and, quite frankly, across the world as well. So as I kind of summarize here a little bit about who Kevin Wayne Johnson is, I'm also a family man. My wife and I have celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary this year. From our union, we have 3 sons, 27, 26, and 25. And we also have a goddaughter who has 2 daughters. So we have 2 god granddaughters that we are very close with and helping to raise as well, as they come over periodically, run around the house, make a mess, have a good time, and then we can call their mom to say, okay, it's time to come get them. And that's been working out very, very well. So this is definitely a journey. Being an author and being a writer, understanding the publishing industry takes time. There is no overnight success, not that I'm aware of. It takes time. Yeah, someone may publish their first book, and yeah, it may make some bestseller lists, but very rarely are you going to hit a home run with your very first book. It takes time. And I believe that the Christian Authors on Tour is a wonderful organization where you can come alongside us and you can get some additional information, learn some good skills, improve your writing craft. You can listen to us on radio. You can follow us on the website. You can come out to many of our events, both virtual and in person. And you'll be hearing a little bit more about some of the other events we have coming up in 2023 as well. So that's just a little bit about me in terms of an introduction. I'm eager and ready and willing to help you and to assist you as best I can based upon what I know. That's just kind of my heart. That's where I'm coming from. But wanted to take the time here in these first few minutes to sort of introduce myself so that you'll get to know me a little bit better. And looking forward to sharing some other tips with you as you begin your journey or as you are already on your journey in this space that we call publishing, writing, and being an author. And with that, Pastor Steve, I'll turn it over to you, sir. Make sure you take your microphone off of mute.
Yes, I was saying that I hate to follow you because he's so smooth and so articulate. I tell you, I'm just we're just going to clean up hitter, I guess. It's okay, but it's great to work with you. Great to hear you talk. I can listen to you all day. But I've got work to do, I guess. So I'm Pastor Steve. Someone called me Music Man years ago, and so I enabled that and kept that for years. So that's my moniker. I didn't have. I wrote some articles for various magazines. Power magazine, it used to be out here in Baltimore, and wrote a music column. I've written columns about music for, I think his name was Shad Brown, God rest his soul, in his Music Hallelujah magazine, and introduced different artists around the city of Baltimore and captured their talent. And so I've basically spent 30 years in sales, 30 years in actually dealing with law enforcement. That's what I bring to the table. And over 50, date myself, past 55 years in music. And so I started at age 4. So I think it was way back in high school when I went to Poly that I had an English assignment to write a story. And I started off really well, only wrote 1 paragraph. And I got sick and I stayed out of school for a couple of days. But when I walked back in, it was a thunderous applause. The teacher gave me an A+ for the paragraph. She said, if you can finish writing it, you get another A+. And I said, wow, just 1 paragraph. So that was my introduction to actually writing. And it wasn't until like I said, near misses with writing articles for different magazines. But it wasn't until I became a pastor that I actually started to seriously sit down and write. I was writing all my sermons, which was kind of different because in the apostolic church, you didn't write anything down. So I started looking at perhaps maybe I was doing something wrong. But I actually asked someone, can I take these sermons and make them into a book? That was my second book. It's called Stormproof. And I actually went through Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., which I met actually in Woodlawn. For some reason, I liked him instantly. I'm not sure because he was short like me. He'd written a lot of books, published a lot of books. I tried him out, and it was pretty good, pretty successful. We're still friends today. And so I was Stormproof. You got to be careful because I sort of end up on the prophetic side. And when I write certain things, name certain things, they actually come to pass. And so my life in the last, since I wrote the book, has been full of storms. Good God Almighty. But you have to be stormproof even in writing because once you put it out in the atmosphere, Satan will mess with you. And that's important to know. And so I consider myself a writing Levite. Write songs, write articles, and write books. Usually have to write something down at all times. Even when I'm in meetings, I'm quietly writing things to capture the totality of the meeting, and then I speak from it. So it's just good to know. My background, like I said, would not produce or the thought that he would become a writer. So because of the career in government, law enforcement, corporations, sales, marketing, that kind of thing. But that adds to giving you great stories and giving you great coloration of your written word, which is important. And also knowing the word, the Bible, is very important as well, because that separates you from regular writers, New York Times and all that. And if you're writing for a mission, you're writing for God, you're writing to encourage folks. So I look at it as a ministry, and I'm sure Pastor Johnson does also. It's a ministry, and if I can't reach you by spoken word, if I can't reach you by song, if I can't reach you by program organizing, then I can reach you by the written word. And we have to use all our tools. Love CAOT, Christian Authors on Tour, because my initiation into real writing did come because I wanted to, because it came because I was in pain. And so I lost my mother, I think it was around that time, where I met Dr. Lynn Pender, and I was kind of keeping myself busy because sometimes you have to write and get into other areas because of despondency, because of grief, trying to get yourself together. And so why not give to others? That's what I have developed, is that when you're in your loss of a loved one, you have to keep moving. You have to keep being visual. You have to keep being relevant, and giving to others is important. So that's why I started writing. Someone suggested to me, why don't you write your way out of pain? And I said, okay. So that's how I got my first book, The Other Pulpit, Life Lessons of a Leader, looking back at my relationship with my mother, trying to honor her memory. And that was important. And so, as I said, Stormproof was basically dealing with the complexities and the uniqueness of trying to be a pastor in the urban city. It's not where I wanted to go. I wanted to be in Baltimore County and Anne Arundel County. And a prophet told me, God said, you're too far from the sheep. You got to go back up in the hood. I said, I want to go there. That's where you got to go. And so many unique things came out of that, being obedient. But I went kicking and screaming, but it still went. And so I'm just saying to you that I had to learn the business. I thought I knew business, but not when it comes to publishing, not when it comes to writing. and putting it all together, all that, sometimes different amounts of money that you have to invest in yourself. Good God Almighty, it's endless. And so when you think you've crossed one bridge, and you come something else. And no, I don't have as many books as the illustrious Dr. Johnson. I don't know if I had patience because my life is too busy. But that's what I said. I can't write. I'm too busy. I got time for this. But I said, take time, take a day. If you write a chapter a day, and don't let anybody else know about it, because if they know about it, they'll try to talk you out of it. You can't do that. It's too complex. So I would hide it from my late wife, and she would come in my office, and I would cut the computer off. So what are you doing? Oh, nothing, sweetheart. I love you. Then I wait another day and write something out. And eventually, it's like breathing. And eventually, you'll have a book, a manuscript. Then you gotta get it edited. And if I ask somebody to do that, you gotta pay that. Then you've got to get it published. You got to get copywritten. It's a process, and so it's not for the faint-hearted. But if you've got the writing bug in you, then God will see it to come to fruition, and that's important. I don't talk as much as Dr. Kevin Johnson because he's so smooth. I'm just like a meat and potatoes guy.
Well, you're doing good, Pastor Steve, and it's a perfect segue because a lot of what you just shared is why we're here. We're here to impart knowledge, and we're here to help people. So let's have a conversation about the publishing industry. That's a good place to start as it relates to the audience that we're having a conversation with. And let me just start out by letting everybody know that the data out there in the publishing industry, and because of where we are in 2023 with the advent of desktop publishing and with the advancement in technology, it's made it so much easier now for more people to enter into the publishing industry. More people want to publish a book. More people now have access to be able to publish a book. So between new books and reprints, each and every year in just the United States, there are well over 250,000 new books that hit the market every year. That would be new books and also reprints of books that are already out there. So Pastor Steve and I are here to let you know that it is a very, 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 very competitive industry from the standpoint of being so many books, and buyers have so many different options to choose from. So let that reality kind of sink in for those of you that are interested in getting started in your writing journey. We encourage you to do so, but as Pastor Steve stated, kind of know what you're doing, and that's part of what we're going to do. The publishing industry is huge. It's right up there in terms of revenue generated. It's right up there with music. I mean, it's amazing how many dollars that audiobooks, ebooks, and print books generate over a given year, just in the United States, not to mention around the world. So it's very, very huge. And so you have to kind of narrow down and be very focused on what it is you're writing and who your audience is. In other words, who you're writing to. And I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of what Pastor Steve was saying, because I thought that was a good way to kind of get started in our conversation tonight. And what I would like to do is invite you, for those of you that would like to be able to send in comments or to submit a chat that Pastor Steve and I can respond to, or even come on video and have a conversation with us. I'm going to give you the ID for the Zoom meeting in the event that you may want to come in and send a chat or have a question that Pastor Steve and I can answer. And we want to invite you to come into Zoom meeting. The meeting ID is 831-4995-1861. I'm going to say it again. This is on Zoom. The meeting ID is 831-4995-1861. And we'll repeat it again a little bit later as well. The passcode is 349-441. I'll say it one more time. The passcode is 349-441. That's you, and you want to come into the Zoom meeting and join us and kind of raise your hand and jump right in and ask a question or send us a chat. We'll be more than happy to have you to do that. Pastor Steve, what else would you add as it relates to the publishing industry at large?
Well, I would say that my first book was with a company, and I paid them quite, some change. They had different deals and packages, but when it came to certain parts of my book that were not, when I got the I guess the finished manuscript back, there were some mistakes in it, and then they said that if they wanted me, if I wanted them to correct it, it would cost more money. So, and that's not a good thing. So because I'm kind of a conservative fellow, and so I said, well, if you're going to charge me more money, I'm just let everybody know that you published it with all these mistakes in it, and I'll just let them know that you did it. No. So we'll take it out. We'll take it out. So I had to use some savvy to get around that. But I've also encountered sometimes I like to get the spam calls. Sometimes there's a lot of publishing companies that want to get your business and promising you, we love your book and we want to publish it for you. And we think it's great. No, that's just a lot of talk, trying to get your money at you. And to go, one was actually going to Germany to have a book fair, and so we put your book right on the table. And I said, well, how many other books are going to be there? So how do I know my book is going to be preeminent if you've got so many other authors there? It was just a way to get more money. I found it to be safer to stay right here, because I'm not trying to get world famous. I'm just trying to help some people. To stay right here with the CAOT, where it's safety, because I've stuck my neck out and almost got it chopped off, trying to go elsewhere. And so this is safe, because you've got a leader who's concerned about ministry, as you call it, the writing warriors, and that's really what. And I can hang with Dr. Kevin. If I wanted to go somewhere, I just go stay with Dr. McKenzie and Dr. Kevin, and I'll be safe. I'll be okay. Yeah.
All right. Excellent. All right. So as an extension of what you just heard, when you start to write your book and you're kind of starting to navigate through the publishing industry, the other thing that Pastor Steve mentioned that I wanted to piggyback on is the book in and of itself, because he mentioned copyright, he mentioned ISBN, and yeah, there's a cost to everything along the phase and along the way and along the journey. But let's kind of break it down in terms of imparting some knowledge and some wisdom. Again, some of us are starting this journey new. Others of us have been in it for a little while and may be stuck. And then others of us may be seasoned, but guess what? We're always open-minded to learn more. So just before we kind of dive into the book and kind of get some thoughts, again, let me just backtrack. As it relates to the publishing industry, remember that even though I said there's over 250,000 books or reprints that hit the market every year, there are a number of different versions of those books. So there's print books, there are ebooks, and then there are audio books. There are different versions. And what we're starting to find is that ebooks, because of the advances of technology, is starting to creep up in terms of popularity with print books. And then not too far behind, because there's so much on the go, audiobooks are slowly but surely in the process of catching up as well. So as you listen to Pastor Steve and I talk about our journey and other topics that come up, kind of keep that in mind in terms of the print version, the ebook version, and the audio version, because see, becomes three different versions. That's kind of how it works. So the book itself, you have to decide if you're going to go traditional or if you're going to publish it yourself. There's the industry, two different variations of what we used to predominantly call self-publishing, but a lot of people in the industry now call it independent publishing. It's the same thing. Self-publishing, independent publishing, it's the same thing. Or do you want to understand the mechanics that go into writing a book proposal to be submitted to what's called a traditional publisher? I would just like to just impart advice to say, whether you go independent publishing or whether you go traditional publishing, when it's all said and done, you have to understand industry. That's why I'm glad Pastor Steve mentioned it, because the marketing of your book is going to fall on you as the author. The only exceptions are the big name authors, names that you've heard of that probably have 30 or 40 books already written. A lot of the marketing dollars go toward them because they have name recognition with the audience. But for all of the rest of us, your marketing, for the most part, falls on you. So, Pastor Steve, share with us some of your wisdom around how you marketing your book or books, and then I'll share some of mine as well.
Okay. I think you said how you market your books. Is that what you said?
Correct.
Normally, I would say that it's it's always good to, you don't want to order too many books when you finally get them, because you have hanging around your house or your office, and then you don't want to order too little books or few books, because you never know what will come up. So you got to somewhere in the middle. According to your budget, you got to have enough books on hand, because sometimes I've been asked to go places and then they say, "Oh, they got a vending table," or they don't you have a book? What you bring it on out with you? And so I don't have to take a few. I kind of do about maybe 10, because a lot of times some places you may not sell all of them, but you have enough to go with you. But of course, with Dr. Johnson, with his glib and articulate self and his heavy anointing, he can sell about 20 or 30 books and all that good stuff. But I'm just a regular guy, so if I can knock off 3 or 5, I'll be okay. So and it's a lot of times book fairs give you an opportunity to actually meet and talk to folks. And it's like just anything else. Years ago, I had a job trying to sell products from GNC as people walk by, and it's kind of the same thing to me when it comes to the books. Why should they look at your book as opposed to anybody else's book? And you've got maybe 10 other vendors in the same room. You got to move fast, talk with some knowledge about your book, and then have some appeal as to the sales aspect of trying to talk to folks and get them excited about it. And so in other cases, that there are award shows and other things that you can be a part of, community fairs, and actually putting out a press release about your book that's coming out, and to try to get some headway that way. And of course, tell friends and family. Hopefully that's good for you. You got a good family, support you, and word of mouth. Got to do it all. Got to do it all. Business cards, postcards. I mean, I recommend Vistaprint, so you won't lose all your money. It's I call it the poor man's way of doing things. Vistaprint.com. Yes, indeed. I think Dr. Kevin's got all kinds of self-marketing and He's got a print company, and he's just loaded. But I look up to him.
All right. So Pastor Steve, you actually hit on a lot of good points, and I'm hoping that people that are watching and listening are actually taking notes, because I do endorse Vistaprint. I use Vistaprint. I have had an account for well over a decade. I like to write a lot of personal notes at the events that I attend. The relationships that I establish at any bookstore, whether it's a mom and pop, an independent bookstore, national chain, i.e. the former Borders or the current Books A Million or Barnes and Noble, I always write a handwritten note to that manager or owner was responsible for having me into their store. I never take it for granted. Well, those notes I order from Vistaprint. I put the logo on the front of the card, and I handwrite a note, and I put a business card inside of it, and I seal it, and I give it to the person as a token of my appreciation for hosting me for a book signing. That's an extension of marketing. Pastor Steve mentioned the press release. Press release is just a one-pager. Usually it's no more than really 3 short paragraphs, and then you kind of end your press release with a brief description of who you are as the author and a very brief description of the book. It's just a one-pager. And that's something that you can pen yourself, or you can hire someone who may have maybe better expertise. But a press release is very, very key to your book marketing. Pastor Steve also mentioned book fairs. So in the spirit of book fairs, I also use the term book festivals and book shows. I mean, they're all kind of synonymous, but there are hundreds from January to December every year across the country and internationally. There are book fairs and book festivals and related events where you can attend and showcase your books, depending on the genre, of course, and we'll talk more about genres. Depending on the audience and depending on the location, has a lot to do with which ones that you will attend and which ones you won't. And you're probably saying, well, Pastor Steve, Pastor Kevin, how do we find out where they are? Eventbrite.com. You get yourself an account, get yourself a username and a password. Now, we're here to impart knowledge. I want every author to be successful. We're here to impart knowledge. Go to eventbrite.com, get yourself an account, and you can put in your own keywords in terms of what you're looking for. And you can get access to any and all of these book events and these book fairs, because more and more people use Eventbrite to post their events to get people to sign up. It is a wonderful tool, and I highly encourage you. That's how I find out about most of my events, right? I have my own account. I publish my own events using Eventbrite, and I let people know where I'm going to be using Eventbrite. And then I use Eventbrite to find out what's happening and which ones I want to go to. It's powerful. Book awards. Pastor Steve mentioned that. I mentioned it a little bit earlier in my intro. There are a boatload of organizations that want to give you the credit that you deserve, and they want to give you an award for publishing your book across a given genre, and you have to fill out their application. Most of the time there is a cost. The cost is always, and you can kind of filter through to see which ones you might want to partner with, which ones you think you might have a good chance of winning. As I mentioned in the opening, my topic is all about leadership. So I'm looking for organizations that I can partner who are looking for authors who are writing books on leadership that they can review with their committee to determine if it's worthy of some type of an award, some type of a recognition. And all of this is part of book marketing. I also want you to maximize your social media. Now, I really only use 4 platforms. There's a whole bunch more out there, but I'm just being strategic based upon what I write. So I use Twitter, I use Instagram. I have a Facebook fan page. I don't use my personal page, but I use a Facebook fan page, Kevin Wayne Johnson. And then I'm very active on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has done wonders for me, but I want you to use your social media platforms would work wonders for you because we're all different. I don't use TikTok. I don't use Pinterest. I don't use Google. I just don't use them. But I do use the 4 that I named because they work best for the platform that I have and the audience that I'm trying to reach. And this is all part of being strategic and using book marketing to help get the word out. And then last, in this particular area, as it relates to book marketing, don't limit yourself to Amazon.com. Amazon.com, yeah, it's the world's largest because of the size that they are and how they have grown. But reach out to your local, regional, and independent bookstores and develop a partnership with Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, Books A Million. Get your books into their system. They don't all accept all books. Let's just be honest. Again, if you have 250,000 plus books that are being introduced into the marketplace every year, it is highly competitive, and Barnes & Noble can only fit about 35,000 books on their bookshelf. So that means another, 100,000+ won't make it. But if your book is worthy of them carrying a website, then that's a way forward to now be able to engage with the bookstore manager to have an in-person book signing and meeting the general public in their store. So those are all some things to think about as it relates to book marketing. And the reason that we're recording this is so that sometime in the future you can and watch it again and kind of listening to it again. Pastor Steve, did I miss anything as it relates to book marketing?
I don't think you did, sir. If I were to add anything, I would probably say that the promo materials are also good to have, and some companies actually give you that. My first book, the publishing company actually offered for extra money, the bookmarkers and some other things. Had a whole package of that, and but of course what they were asking for and what you can get from Vistaprint it's a lot better, and so that's good. I see someone here, Pastor Kevin, that we be very concerned about. Elder Jean Bonds. Jean Bonds, now a writer. She was my former worship leader at my church and the praise dancer and all that. She's highly combustible, and she's on the line. We need to pray real fast because she's here.
All right. Hello there, Elder Jean. God bless you.
Hello, good evening.
All right. You doing well?
Doing good, good.
Good to see you. Good to see you smile. Do you have any questions for myself or Pastor Steve as it relates to publishing your book? Anything at all that we can do to support and advocate for you?
No, but I do have a question, only because I'm part of book collaboration. So if you're trying to get the book in a particular area, you have to have that visionary to do it. If you're in different cities, or can any other authors that's co-authors can do it?
Yeah, I would think it's a combination of a lot of different things is what I tell everyone, Elder Jean and everyone else that's watching and listening. Getting your book to land in any given venue, platform, region around the country, any city, any county, any library system, school system. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Academic institutions, colleges, universities, the prison system. There's so many different avenues that we can take. It always depends on the genre, and it always depends on the audience. What is that audience looking for? And does your genre and your message, that's what that audience is looking for? That's really what it comes down to. If you believe that your book will answer questions or impart knowledge to any given particular audience, I always encourage the author, as an extension of what we have to do, because we have to advocate for ourselves, I always say, go for it. So, when you think about a particular topic, let's just use a topic. Let's just say music, for example. Well, that anytime you talk about music, you have to break it down to another level.
Yeah.
R&B, jazz, gospel, country. And guess what? That one form of music doesn't resonate with all audiences.
Right.
And that's what we try to share with authors. We all believe that our message will resonate with everybody, and that's okay to believe it. But the reality in terms of how the industry works just doesn't happen that way. So that's why we're kind of starting out in our session, Pastor Steve and I, talking about the industry, publishing industry, and now having a conversation, marketing, and we're going to talk about is the book in and of itself. We're going to dive into fiction versus nonfiction. So it's easy to answer your question, but at the same time, it's complex and complicated, because there is every time. It doesn't matter, again, if it's self-published or if it's published by a traditional publisher. It's always going to be the author that's in the driver's seat that has to understand how he or she can resonate best with the audience that needs to hear the message in that book. And there's so many different ways of doing that. We've been talking about some of them so far within our first hour, and we'll talk about some more in the second hour as well. So hopefully that helps.
Yes, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
I'd like to add something to that. And that when I wrote this book here, The Other Pulpit, that's the first book. Okay. There were some life lessons. This is what I came up with. And so when I wrote it, I was trying to think of that the life lessons this could be given to, I had marketing on my mind in conjunction with the content, is I could write it to the point where it could be given to corporate executives for sales, since we're talking about life lessons. It has some historical aspects in it, where dealing with Martin Luther King's history and my mother's history in the Baltimore area. And so at some point, that's what I was thinking. And then the opportunity came, and I almost missed it. From the Reginald F. Lewis Museum, I called down there for something to visit about another author. And then I said, oh, yeah, that's great, because in my book, by the way, my book is based on Baltimore's history. She says, the lady from Reginald F. Lewis Museum said, why don't you donate the book? And I became selfish. I said, why would I do that? Donate my book? I'm not going to do that. She said, if you donate the book, we'll put it on display. I was like, oh, incredible. Yes, I'll come down today. How about that? So you don't want to be selfish with the gift that God gave you. You want to give it away to the right people. Yeah.
Amen. And there's a lesson to be learned in that story from Pastor Steve. Sometimes it's the pro bono and it's the giveaway that turns out to be the biggest blessing. I'm telling you, we don't have enough time to get into it, but whether it's in any other area that we may be living in, or specifically in the publishing industry as it relates to our books, just giving away a copy here and there, showing up pro bono without asking anybody for, it can go a very, very long way. Just let your heart guide you and direct you in terms of what you do, because we're all different. But there's definitely a lesson to be taken away from that. So that's a good story there, Pastor Steve. Thanks for sharing.
I don't know if Elder Jane can actually do that. We see how she's dressed with those fancy clothes and backdrops. She's got a lot of money.
All right, good stuff.
Okay, Pastor. I'm sorry. I forgot my backdrop was from the class the other night. We had a graduation. So.
All right, good stuff.
Mhm.
Hey, listen, let's transition to this other topic that Pastor Steve graciously introduced, really as a part of his introduction, and that is the book itself. So we've talked about the publishing industry. We've talked a little bit about book marketing. Now let's move into the book. So a couple of things that I want everyone to think about and process is, for those of you that are just starting out, and even for those of us that are a little bit more seasoned, we've been at it for a while, there is nothing like telling a good story for your reader. This is part and parcel why the motion picture industry generates so much revenue, because people like a good story. That's why Netflix is doing so well, another avenue to get a good story. And so it is with the book. So if you happen to be a fiction writer and you can develop a really good story that will capture the audience's attention from page 1 to page 300, or however many pages it is, you are gifted. I can tell you right now, you are gifted to be able to do that, to come up with your storyline, your characters, your plot, your setting, and to keep the attention of your reader from page 1 all the way to the very end is a gift. If you have that gift, then I would encourage you to pursue it and go for it. And as it relates to your book, you'll never finish until you get started. And so again, your storyline, your plot, your setting, and development of your characters are all really key components of a good story, and people love it. Now, the truth of the matter is 80% of all book buyers are women. That's not a bad thing. It's just good to know what the data shows. Most book buyers are women. That's just the reality. It doesn't stop Pastor Steve and I from writing, but it helps us to be more in alignment with the reality of the majority of the folks out there that are buying books. That's just an unequivocal fact when it comes to book publishing. The other arm is nonfiction. So the nonfiction, myself, is more aligned with doing study and research and pulling information and bringing it together and formulating chapters. And as we're writing, start to fill in those chapters, because it's more along the line of imparting wisdom and knowledge to our readers as opposed to writing a story. But the one thing that I have learned over time, and this is a good takeaway for those of us that write nonfiction books, as an extension of sharing with your readers who you are as an author, from chapter to chapter, tell a little story about who you are. People like to know a little bit more about who the author is. So it's not uncommon for me as a non-writer to kind of add some stories in there about something that I experienced in elementary school, or something that was very impactful that maybe my mom imparted into me, or maybe a very unique experience that I had on the job serving in ministry, just kind of telling a little bit more about myself, sort of in a story format combined in the heart of a nonfiction book. I've kind of learned how to do that over some time. So those are two things that you have to really start out with. Am I a fiction writer or am I a nonfiction writer? And then that will help to navigate the roads that you have to travel in this publishing journey. And so I'm going to briefly now mention just a couple of things, and then I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Steve because he mentioned copyright. So when you and I are writing our books, it is our intellectual capital, and we have to protect it by way of a copyright. Also, you'll notice that on the back of every book, at the bottom, there's typically a barcode. And at the top of that barcode, typically you'll find a 13-digit number. And then you'll see those ISBN before that number. That's the International Standard Book Number that is assigned to every book that is published. Just like every one of us has a Social Security that is assigned to us, every book has an ISBN number. And in order for your book to be interesting to readers, it's important that you have reviews and endorsements by people in the industry. And it's important to include those endorsements or reviews inside the book or on the back cover for people to read. And then last but not least, people want to know a little bit about who you are as the author. So on the back cover, you can include just a small, not a lot, but a small write-up about who you are so that people will get to know you. And so that's a little bit of information there about the book itself. And Pastor Steve, I'll turn it over to you. What else would you like to add to some of those key components that should be a part of your book?
Well, you have to also, thank you, sir, I appreciate it. From my esteemed colleague, you have to have a content page. It all has to make sense. It has to have some kind of continuity. And they also, then there's an inside, have a little bio about myself, inside the page. I think it's a preface. And then you've got testimonial. I had to go shop around, figure out who's going to write a testimonial about me. And I found a good friend of mine, my other brother, Bishop Walter Sims, who his testimonial says, calls me his other brother. So he wrote that, and that's official because it comes from a bishop. And I like that. And then a dedication page, which I gave to my mama, because it was about her and our life together. And the next page was for my wife, so I could stay out of trouble when I was taking all this time making a book. So, and my wife and my mother looked tremendously alike, so people would flip the back and forth trying to figure out which one was my mother, which was my wife. And my wife, unfortunately, is gone on to heaven now, but she got her flowers while she had lived. So that's kind of important to note. And if you have a logo for your business or ministry, it should appear somewhere in the back. Yeah, that's very important. And contact information, so they can actually, hopefully, contact you and write that $1,000 check, which I still am waiting for. Maybe Elder Barnes will do it today, I guess. For both of us. What do you think?
Hey, I love it.
The money. She's got the money.
That's why I'm smiling.
Yeah, look at those glasses. Big time.
So this is some really good information, really, for all of the authors, and I'm grateful that Pastor Steve is also formats and having this venue to share information. I know it's like a lot, and the truth of the matter is it is a lot. That's why everybody who says I have a book in me, everybody doesn't finish. It can get intimidating, but we're a team, Christian Authors on Tour, and we're here to provide these resources. Like I said, we don't see each other as competitors. We see each other as men and women of God that support each other and pass on information. There's a reason why I've been doing this for 20 years. It worked. You have to stick with it, because writing a book goes hand in hand with now you being able to speak about the book. You can't write a book and then say I'm shy and I'm not, I can't, that doesn't work. And the way that our Heavenly Father works is that he's not looking for you to be experienced and qualified. When you step into his will, then he qualifies you. That's how he works. It's not how the world works, where they won't even give you an opportunity unless they consider that you have the experience or the qualifications. It doesn't work like that with God. God is just looking at your heart, and he wants you to raise your hand and say, yes, I'm in. Then he qualifies you when you go through the process. Like I said, 20 years ago, I didn't know any authors. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a literary agent. I didn't know anything about the publishing industry. What was on my heart was to help people to understand what it means to give God the glory. Literally, that's how it happened. One book. And then it was self-published, of course. I didn't even try to get a traditional publisher. I didn't have any name recognition. Like Pastor Steve said earlier, we're not looking to get rich and become celebrities. That's not who we are. But within 3 months, the book was picked up for national distribution. And the rest is history, right? Why? In God's will, saying yes to the assignment. That's all. It sounds simple, but it's the simplicity of God's word that takes us from point A to point B. And so Pastor Steve and I are here to encourage you and to inspire you and motivate you to take that step forward. I'm still just as excited today, 20 years later, than I was when I first got started. I just know a whole lot more, and I know how challenging and how complicated the industry has become with the advances with technology. And so we're here to help. We are resources, and that's what it's all about. So if you choose to go the traditional publishing route, then there are ways to attract a literary agent to work on your behalf. There are ways to do that. And you have to understand how to write a book proposal that will be submitted on your behalf by way of the literary agent to publishing houses that are interested in your topic, because your topic just does not appeal to all publishing houses. They have different silos and niches and markets and audiences that they cater to. It's not a one size fits all type situation. That's a different process than if you were independently published or self-published. And if you have your notebook and your notepad, just jot down these notes. The first thing you're going to have to do is copyright your work, because it's your intellectual capital. And so there's a standard form that you fill out that you ultimately send down to the U.S. Copyright Office in Washington, D.C. In order to do that, I always recommend that people go through the Library of Congress. So it's loc.gov. loc.gov. When you go to the Library of Congress website, you'll specifically find a drop-down menu link to go out to the page to fill out the form. It's a very short form to get your copyright. Just follow the instructions. You can do it online, or you, like me, I'm old school. I print out the form and I handwrite it in and I mail it. Why do I do that? It's just who I am. We're all different. I could do it online and just as a matter of fact, if you just do it online, it's less expensive. But listen, I still write checks and I still fill out manual forms. It's just who I am. People have tried to bring me into the new millennium, said, no, thank you, I'm good. So depending on what you want to do, but if you go to you go ahead and send in that form even before you finish your manuscript, and you get your work copyrighted and get it protected. And then the other thing is the ISBN number. So you can literally go to ISBN.org. And there are a number of other websites that you could go to as well, but go to ISBN.org and order your own copyright. You can pay for one or you can pay for a bundle. And that's your 13-digit unique number for that particular book. You complete those 2 steps, then you're good. And we're not talking about a whole lot of money. This is just a nominal fee. This is just part of the process. All right. Pastor Steve, over to you. Other thoughts on that, on the book itself?
I forgot to say something about the content, or when you get into the publishing part, the more pages you write, the more money it's going to cost you, especially editing and all that. And so a friend of mine suggested my books are always less than 45 pages for several reasons. One, it doesn't take up much room on the shelf. Number 2, it is that most people, as I was told, don't have the mental capacity at this point to be patient enough to read a War of the Worlds book with 500 pages, 1,000, and so the attention span is not there. And for myself, for my health conditions, I had 2 concussions, and I couldn't concentrate enough to do that. So I had to piece it together. But even at 43 pages, or 45 pages, it's still you have to go over and make sure it's all connected, make sure it makes sense. Would you like it? Are there scriptures and part it into it? It's still some work to make it, especially if you're an analytical perfectionist like myself. I don't like it. I gotta try it again. I gotta maybe let me walk away from it for 2 days and come back to it and see, and all that. And then I try to, because it's me, I try to put some of my personality into my writing. So I'm usually cracking jokes, and I got something humorous to say, and I'm trying to weave it in there in the storyline so that people have unexpected humor, which has worked out for me for that. My book, I forgot, is actually also in the Baltimore City Enoch Pratt Library. And that wasn't because I was so smart and genius. I just happened to be there having a service, and I asked a question. And so I submitted the book to one of the librarians who thought I was a cool guy. And so they sent it through their system. It raised the other pulpit quite a bit of controversy. They battled, I understood, downtown about it. And then, so they still decided to let it go in there. And so anybody can actually pull it down. Maybe I shouldn't tell them that. I should tell them to buy it. Buy it first. Then go to the library and verify. So that's what I have to contribute there.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Listen, I wanted to give you another opportunity, if you're led to do so. If you want to join Pastor Steve and I here on Zoom, you're more than welcome to do that, because you might have a question that you might want to verbalize, or you may want to send a chat or a Q&A in the Zoom meeting. If that's you, the meeting ID is 831-4995-161. I will repeat that. The meeting ID is 831-4995-1861. If you choose to come in and join us, and the passcode is 349-441. Passcode 349-44. If you want to come in and be a part of the discussion here, if you're just having a blast watching us streaming live, then that's perfectly acceptable as well. So Pastor Steve shared it with us, some additional things to think about relates to your book. Again, the books that I'm authoring Leadership with the Servant's Heart. This is the very first book. The subtitle is Leading Through Personal Relationships. And then the second book here is same title, Leadership with the Servant's Heart. You see how we focus on the heart. And then the subtitle is Leading in Your Workplace, because again, that's the space and place that I'm in this season of my life. I'm retired, going on 5 years, but I'm still actively involved as a writer, as a speaker, a coach, a mentor, a leadership training. Leadership, in addition to pastoral ministry, is key and core to who I am, because I believe that better leaders help to make the world a better place. And so, as it relates to your book, you have to come up with a really nice book cover. So key and so important as it relates to your book. Now, human behavior dictates that people are very visual. And the more attractive your cover to the reader, not to us, but to the reader, the higher the likelihood that they will gravitate toward it and want to know more. But you and I have to be able to articulate the vision in terms that what we want the cover to speak, and then hire the right graphic artist, the right graphic designer to make it come to life. At some point, we have to relinquish those things that we're not really an expert at over to those who are. And that's why I wanted to start out with your book cover should speak to the contents of your book. Whatever it is, the message is that you're trying to get to your reader, as best you can, verbalize that to your graphic artist and your graphic designer so they can capture it and make it resonate with the reader before they even open up to the first page. They look and they start to canvas the pages. It has to be professionally edited and proofread by a professional. You and I cannot do it. The author cannot edit his or her own work. We're too close to it. We'll miss word two, not the number two, but the word two, TOO, when it should be TO. We'll miss the word BE, and because we've spelled it BY, because we're so close to. We'll miss little small typographical errors that mean a lot to the audience that's reading it, because we lose credibility if it's not edited and proofread. So make sure you hire a professional proofreader and someone who can edit very, very well, because it's going to make a big difference. And then something that's called formatting and typesetting is the final step toward getting it to print. And so hiring someone who is an expert in that area in terms of formatting the book and then typesetting the book. And that has everything to do with the fonts, the type of font, the size of the font, the spacing, how the margins are positioned, where your page numbers are, whether it's the middle bottom or the middle top or to the right or to the left. All of those finite details are very, very important as it relates to the final product. And then we did briefly talk about it, and that is the back cover. The back cover should have just enough information to share with the reader what the book is all about. Perhaps you can include some reviews and some endorsements, and then a very, very short paragraph about who you are with a professional headshot should go there on the back cover. And now you are well on your way to being in a position where you can market this book to get some deep penetration into the marketplace. So that's an overview of the book. And then an overview, we started out as it relates to the industry. And then, of course, we had a brief conversation also about marketing. So those are the really three big arms when it comes to writing. Christian Authors on Tour is a conglomeration of men of God and women of God who have partnered together and collaborated together and cooperate together to help each other on this journey. We do events around the country, both virtual and in person. If you go to Christian Authors on Tour, you'll find all that good stuff. Pat and I participate as much as we can because this kind of goes again in an alignment with our theme. And our theme this year is the power that worketh in you. And so, Pastor Steve, I'll turn it over to you and see what you might want to add to anything at all that we've talked about so far.
This is more like a class, a college education. Are we charging for this? Okay. Okay. I would, these are the two books I've written so far. Well, actually, it's been three because I have a rewrite of The Other Pulpit. And this is the one I got from Dr. McKenzie when I redid my cover. And if you got added some pictures, and reprint is just like writing it all over again. So it's credit. And this is the last one, the latest one, Stormproof. You see the guy in the middle of the storm with his arms out. They had to tell, relate to the words. And that's the back cover that you can see there. Alrighty. And I want to say that it was through the Christian Authors on Tour during the pandemic that I had an opportunity to be a part of the Harlem Book Fair, a world-class situation, okay, that I would never have gone to because I'm too busy here and too cheap to spend all that money going to getting hotels and go up to New York. But the Lord made a way, and that's the other key. If you've got something that He wants you to write, He wants you to do that, He will make a way for His word to get out. That's important to know. And so I didn't have a person who did the manuscript, and the Lord put in my way someone who had written for professional journalists. Was a professional journalist who had space in their schedule and charged me a little or nothing, which is very important. My mother said I was cheap to actually do the editorial stuff. And that was just a fantastic situation. So that was for the one book. And then I got Dr. McKenzie to do the other books. God will always provide someone to assist you once you become obedient to doing what He asks you to do, or what He suggested to you to do. And you could end up like Dr. Kim Johnson, a mega writer, or you could be like me, a part-time writer. But we got something powerful to say, and so do you. So never forget it.
Yeah, amen. And Pastor Steve, I'm just like you, and I encourage others as well. Listen, I'm frugal. I'm very frugal when it comes to the dollars, right? I don't believe authors need to spend a whole lot of unnecessary dollars trying to get their book published. I don't believe that. And so I'm very frugal and I'm very selective, and we should be, as authors, we should be very selective of which events we go to, because again, our books are written to a particular audience, not to everybody. And so the books, to the book festivals and book fairs that you attend, you should be very strategic and, quite frankly, focused. The other word would be picky. Everybody is not interested necessarily in your topic, and that's okay. Let me give you another example. And Pastor Steve, I'm going to ask you to share with us briefly. I'm going to share mine first, to share two of your biggest challenges in this writing journey. And I'm going to share with you mine. My first biggest challenge was having to understand why it's important to be very selective about which events that we attend, the ones that we attend in person, with the hope of selling books, because when it's all said and done, we're all about sending God's message, but deep down inside, you do want to sell books. I had to learn, it was a very hard lesson, that authors that go to these different events where there's also 50, 60, 70 other authors there in the same venue, and you're only there for maybe a day or two, it's a realistic expectation that you're just not going to sell very many books because people have too many authors to choose from. That's just a reality. That's not a knock, and it's not a judgment on those particular events where they invite in all of these authors and they're all together, kind of meshed up together, and there's 50, 60, 70 authors. There's too many authors setting for you to expect to sell very many books. So kind of keep that in mind as you go forward. I had learned that over time, right? And so I'm now in a position where I choose not to go to those events, but I'm not telling you not to go to those. I'm just saying in terms of the genre that I'm writing and the audience that I'm trying to reach. So that's the other biggest challenge that I had was, interestingly enough, and I still have it. It's still a challenge. I said had, but it's still a challenge as I go forward. How to convince unequivocally a reader who actually picks up a copy of your book and starts to flip through it. You're there in person with them, how to close the sale. Because I don't have any training in sales. So even when a person picks up your book and they're flipping through the pages, there's a higher probability that they'll probably buy it. But to this day, I'm still challenged on being able to close the sale, because I still have a lot of people that say, thank you very much. And then they'll put it back down and they'll keep moving forward. So those have been my two biggest challenges in my writing journey over 20 years, going to events where the place is already packed out with 50, 60, 70 other authors, thinking that I would be able to sell a good number of books, and it just doesn't happen for me. So that's why I'm not saying don't frequent and support those events. And then secondly, being able to actually close the sale because of the sales training. Those have been my big two challenge. What about you, Pastor Steve? What have been your two biggest challenges in your writing journey?
Oh my goodness. I would say probably when you're in that room with other vendors, I've seen some very creative vendor tables, how they're decorated and things of this nature to attract people. And I just didn't have it. I had to go on sales skills, and so and that, it's important. So if someone had actually picked up the book and started looking through it, I probably would have said, you made a wise decision today. That's fantastic. How should I wrap it up for you? Go right in for it, kill it. The other thing is the pricing. You can't price it because you're greedy. You want all the money, and you can't price it too low. It's got to be somewhere where it's affordable, but you can get some kind of profit out of it as well. And it takes a little thing, because if it's too much, they're not going to want it. So it's got to be reasonable, but also not so cheap that you can't get any, because you've got to make some money. You got to make some profit. So sometimes reinvest in getting other copies, which is important, because it's worse to run dangerously low the amount of books you have, and then here comes some big event and you can't go because you don't have enough copies. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Good stuff. All good tidbits. So again, that's why we're here, Christian Authors on Tour. This is why we're here to help each other, but also to motivate and inspire you on your writer's journey. So you've heard both of our stories, and you know a little bit more about us now. And what I'm going to do now is just take a few minutes and just kind of dive a little bit deeper into what leadership with a servant's heart is all about. So the one that I have in my hand was published in 2019, just before the pandemic. And then the more recent version, book number 2, was written last year, October 2022 is when it came out. And because I am in retirement and I've served as a frontline leader, a mid-level leader, and a senior level leader, both in the workplace, federal government for 34 years, and in ministry, 22 years and counting, at the local level, regional level, national level, and international level. I have observed and I have experienced a lot as it relates to leadership, good leadership, bad leadership, how it makes people feel, how it uplifts people, how it can have a negative impact on people, how it can have a positive impact. And so life's journey now is focused on an audience that are aspiring leaders, as well as seasoned leaders and everybody in between, to give them strategies and principles, nuggets, tools, and tips on how to align their subject matter expertise, the mind, with what's in the heart: compassion, empathy, value, respect, honor, and care. Because Maya Angelou reminds us so eloquently, and it's so true, that at the end of the day, no one really gives a care how much you know until they first know how much you care. That's just, and you can be the smartest cat on the planet, but if you don't know how to treat people and you just constantly disrespect people and berate people and scream at people, they don't want to be in your presence, even though you are the most smartest person on the planet. That's just core to how God made us, because God made us to be relational. We crave relation. We crave aspiration, and inspiration and affirmation. We're created. And so I'm on this journey to share with people, whether I'm writing, whether I'm training, whether I'm coaching, whether I'm mentoring, or whether I'm speaking. And you can probably tell in the hour and a half that we've been together, I'm a teacher. That's a spiritual gift from God. Teaching is a spiritual gift. And it's one of the gifts that God gave me. I found that out a long time ago. I love to teach. I get paid for it, but I do it for free. I'm in my lane when I'm teaching. So that's core to what I do. And I wanted you to have just a little bit more information about the book, because it's really from the heart that the author is writing and wants that message to reach that audience. And we have to own it. You have to own what you're writing. You're not writing your book because someone said it was a good idea, or somebody even suggested that it's something that you should do. It's got to be in your heart. You gotta have a passion for it, because your readers are going to be able to pick up on that. So that's why I write. That's what I write about. You heard a little bit about the audience that I'm looking to reach, and we follow biblical principles. So it's written from the context of Genesis to Revelation, because I have discovered that everything that knows about leadership comes from Scripture. The problem is that most people out here on the circuit that are teaching leadership never reference Scripture. They give the impression that it's their idea, and companies are paying them thousands and millions of dollars, and it's only a few people out here on the circuit that are referencing Scripture when they talk about leadership. And so I want to change that dynamic. I want that pendulum to shift, and I want people to know there's nothing new under the sun. It all comes from Scripture. So that's my motive operandi in terms of why I write, and the journey has been wonderful. And like I always said, you can always reach out to Kevin Wayne Johnson to be a resource in this journey. All right, Pastor Steve, why do you write, sir?
I write, well, one reason why I write is when I do write is for therapy, self-therapy, and for others like me, but I know there's plenty of them out there, to actually deal with my commission, which occurred actually while sitting here at this desk here when in 2013 God asked me over my right ear, just like that we're talking today. He said, "So you gonna start the church?" I said, "Absolutely not. I ain't doing that." He said, "Oh, is that how you gonna do me?" And so God is gangster. So I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, what kind of people you want me to go after?" So he gave me a list of people, and I said, "Oh my God, that's terrible." I said, "Nobody wants them. They're all in pain." He said, "Well, who else knows pain better than you?" And that wiped me out. I fell on my desk crying like a baby. So I've tried to use, especially when I was in the hospital in 2020, I was in ICU for 10 days and they wrote me off to die. And through prayers brought me back and kept me alive through that. And 2021 had a stroke. I'm still able to talk and because they put the medication in me just in time. And then I had blood poisoning in 2022. And so I said, "God, if you can get me out of this hospital and come out of here, then these situations, I will do whatever you say." And so I have a lot of gifts in me. So I have to utilize every capacity, whether it's song, whether it's writing, whether it's program organizing, whatever it is. And so I pen because and write because this is another extension of preaching, another extension of trying to solicit souls for God and trying to help someone else through practical means of dealing with the heaviness of society and the heaviness of PTSD, which all these things I suffer from. So I have to write therapeutically to help others who suffer from it too. And so somehow I'm always trying to get it out there so that folks can avoid suicide, avoid other things. And if you can write about it, talk about it, you can share it with somebody. And now here's one thing I did find when I went to the harbor. It was a National Harbor. It was a book fair, book situation. So I gave a book, and I gave a book to, or sold a book to a guy. I went to my hotel room, and the next day he came. It was a concert. He came and started talking to me about my book. I hate to say this, but he knew certain chapters of my book better than I did because I wrote it, but I didn't study it. I didn't read it. And it's been a while. And he said, "Yeah, it's like that chapter so-and-so you wrote." And I'm looking at him like, he said, "You do know what I'm talking about." Honestly, I didn't know. I had to go back and get on my knees and say, "I'm sorry," and read my book. Again, you got to know your own material. It's very important. If you got nothing else, you should remember that one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. Hey, Pastor Steve, any coming events on your calendar, book related upcoming events on your calendar that you wanted to share with our listeners?
You caught me on the spot there, Dr. Kevin Wayne Johnson. There's unfortunately nothing on my calendar book wise. My calendar's been filled with other things. But I have given my book away to as going to other events, protests and other things like this, and doing playing for people and all that. And I turn around and have given the book to certain people, and because it's just sitting here in the house doing nothing. It's got to be. It's a blessing, but it can't be furniture. You got to do something with it. So if you can't sell it, if you can't market it, promote it, just give it away. It's not written for you anyway.
Yeah, really, really good point. And the reason I asked the question is because I want authors to treat their marketing portion of their book just like they treat the writing portion and getting it completed. And what I mean by that is, everything we do is a faith walk. So the scriptures remind us in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7, for we walk by faith and not by sight. I would encourage everyone, because I've done it virtually and I've done it in person, and that is to embark on some book tour. And what I mean by that is month by month, go ahead and plan on being on a podcast, participating in an event like this, doing a book signing at a bookstore, showing up at a conference or at a summit as an author that's selling his or her books. Put together some type of a book tour as a part of your marketing to meet and greet the different readers that are around the country. And so here's a really, really good example. Remember, I mentioned Eventbrite, and Pastor Steve did earlier as well, .com. When you create your username and password, go take a look at the different literary events that are taking place in your local area, in your regional area, that might be relatively close to you, that you don't necessarily have to fly to or even spend overnight, but you can jump in your car and just drive to without costing you any money, or a lot of money anyway, and put in those type of events to let people know about your book, get yourself in front of the right audience that's interested in your book, and get to meet people and greet people, and them get to know you as well. Now, having done this for 20 years, during the pandemic, as an extension of leadership with the servant's heart, I actually did a full year virtual book tour in 2021. From January to December, there were events like this, different conferences that were online and not in person, summits, speaking events, being a guest on a podcast, etc. Just getting the word out to thousands of people. Last year, as things opened up again, during the summertime, a lot of these national have their national conference. If you live near a major city, go to that city's convention and look online to see which of these big organizations are coming to town to have an event at a convention center near you. I'm only 2 hours from Philadelphia. I'm 20 minutes from Baltimore. I'm 40 minutes from Washington, D.C. 3 huge markets that I can drive to. And I just go to their website and see which national organizations are coming to that convention center where I could possibly sign up and sell my books. And so now that we're open this year, 2023, from January to December, I am in the middle of a national book tour. So I just left Atlanta. Prior to that, I was in Orlando. In the month of July, which is only a week away, I'll be in Las Vegas, and I'm going back to Orlando again, and other places and spaces as an opportunity to meet people, them meet me, and sell my books. So you can do it. It's part of your book marketing plan, but do it in a way where you're being frugal and you're not spending exorbitant amounts of money. You want it to be comparable to the estimated number of copies of books that you think you'll be able to sell. Don't spend thousands of dollars and fly all over the country, because you're setting yourself up for disappointment and frustration, and we don't want you to do that. But focus in on those that are local, where you can just drive to, and you don't even have to spend the night in a hotel. You can just drive back, because most of the events are over with around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock anyway, and that'll give you plenty of time to get back home. So food for thought. Pastor Steve and I wanted to drop some seeds for you to consider and to think about. What are those seeds? See which ones grow up and are fruitful for you, and utilize that. And then when you're done with that first book, then you're now ready to write your second book. Okay. All right. Elder Jean, did you happen to have any other questions for us, or any other comments? Did you want to impart some wisdom on any?
No, it was great information. Both of y'all had answered my questions, so it was really a blessing. I liked all the information that you shared. It was good information.
All
Good
right.
information.
Good. Excellent.
You want to make a donation?
That Steve always messing with me. Sure, okay.
All right, Lynn, we see you there. Over to you.
Oh, thank you. Well, listen, Elder Jean, it's just so good to see you. And Elder Jean is also a newly published author as well. So congratulations to you. We have adopted her into Christian Authors on Tour. So she is one of our newest members of Christian Authors on Tour.
Okay, what?
Really exciting. But listen, fellas, oh my goodness, Pastor Steve, Pastor Kevin, this was so informative. I mean, I love these days because we had part one of the Men of CAOT virtual showcase with Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. and Dwight E. Doremus this morning, but it was totally different. And so I want to encourage you all, if you're watching now, be sure to go to our Christian Authors on Tour Facebook page or our YouTube page to check out that earlier session with Dr. McKenzie and with Dwight E. Doremus. But wow, this session tonight was amazing. And so again, I just want to thank the two of you. Now, what you did not do, you did not give your website information. So I want to give you both an opportunity to either share your website information or to share your contact information so that if people want to purchase your books or they want to invite you out as a speaker, they can do that.
All right, Pastor Steve, you go first.
You sure?
Yes,
okay,
sir.
I'll follow instructions. And that is, you can call me at Pastor Steve Turner to get the book Stormproof and the other pulpit, the original version and the improved version at 1-410-302-2737. That's 1-410-302-2737. And the other website I would give you contact information is www.calltheoncallorganist.info. Calltheoncallorganist.info, and that brings you in full circle. It's fantastic. Thank you.
You said www.calltheoncallorganist.com. Is that what you said?
.info.
Got it. Okay. So I'm just sharing that on the screen. One of the things that Pastor Steve didn't talk about, although Pastor Kevin referenced it when he talked about the Music Man, he is a gifted organist. And as you can tell, he's also a funny comedian. So we want to make sure that you check out his website, www.calltheoncallorganist.info. All right. And then Pastor Kevin?
Yeah, so I in this season of life, I'm also a business owner. The name of my firm is the Johnson Leadership Group. So our website is www.thejohnsonleadershipgroup.com. Lynn is typing it in there for you now. I have 10 people, all certified executive coaches and trainers and leaders. And we spend a great deal of our time, 95% of our time, pouring into the lives of aspiring and also seasoned leaders. So this is our website. As you can see here, I have an online course that you can subscribe to, 18 chapters. And we have a boatload of, we're writing the books, and we do leadership development training and executive coaching, one-on-one and for groups and for organizations as well. And so all of our contact information is there at thejohnsonleadershipgroup.com. Phone number is on there as well. Very, very easy to reach. And we don't just do business here in the United States, but we also and ministry in Kenya, Africa as well. As a matter of fact, a group of 6 other men of God and women of God will be traveling to Kenya at the end of September for a full week to do church development, leadership development, working with government officials and business owners as well. So we look forward to that as the beginning of a great relationship going forward.
Awesome. Awesome. And again, I just want to thank the two of you just for an amazing talk and session tonight. I'm excited that you both, I think, will be joining Christian Authors on Tour in December in Washington, D.C.
You know, I'll be there. I was on a site visit.
I know. And just in case you all who are watching are like, what's happening in Washington, D.C.? Well, as Pastor Kevin mentioned at the start of the program, Christian Authors on Tour started in 2008. I can't believe it's been 15 years, right? Wow. 15 years that we've been meeting up, working together to use writing as a tool for Christian ministry. And in 2009, we launched the CAOT Blog Talk Radio Show. In 2018, we launched the CAOT Web TV show featuring authors. We generally have a book tour, which happened in the odd number years. So 2023 is an odd number year. All of our events this year have been virtual. So last month, we had the ladies of CAOT. And if you want to check out those videos, you can go to our webpage, www.christianauthorsontour.com. And we're here today with the men of CAOT, and at least some of the men from CAOT. And we're going to get ready for August. August is always a fun time for us. August 9th is National Book Lovers Day. And we have a Christian author marathon from 8:30 a.m. in the morning to 8:30 p.m. at night. It is so fun, where we have 20-minute segments of Christian authors who are sharing about their books and doing Bible studies. Because how many of us know that the greatest book of all is the Holy Bible, right? Mm-hmm. And so the only in-person event, though, that Christian Authors on Tour is hosting is this event in December. It's at the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. It's on December 9th. It's an all-day event from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We are hosting the 2023 Christian Writers Literary Festival there. And it's a day-long event. Bring the entire family. We're going to have something even for the little readers. Now, the cool thing about this is that there is a opportunity for you to not only attend our event at the museum, but to actually tour the museum. So this is not a free museum. Normally, I know a lot of the museums in DC are free, but this is a private museum and it does cost money. But our ticket is a little cheaper than the entry fee. You do have to purchase your tickets online. The base ticket is $17.99, but with taxes, it comes out to $21.04. We do have tickets for the little ones, 5 through 17. The tickets are $12.75, and it's free for children 4 and under. Now, this is the thing. We will not be able to collect money at the door for this event on December 9th. So you have a lot of time between now and December 9th to visit us online. You can find this via Eventbrite. You can also find this via the ChristianAuthorsOnTour.com website. And we want you to come out and celebrate. Listen, it's Christmas time. We're going to have an ugly Christmas sweater contest. We're going to have our karaoke mics so that you can sing your favorite Christmas hymn or Christmas song. And we're just going to have a good time as you are interacting with some of the different Christian authors from all over the country. Dwight E. DeRamus is coming from Chicago. You already heard Pastor Kevin Wayne Johnson say, hey, I was there. I did the site visit. And yes, he did. We were there. It is a beautiful facility. So we definitely want you to come out. We definitely want to see you come out, support Christian authors, get ready to fill your Christian stockings, your stockings, your Christmas stockings with some amazing gifts for loved ones. And so we definitely wanted to bring that to your attention to let you know that we want you to get ready for that event. Also, when we do in-person events, we generally have a mission outreach. And so we are going to announce on our website, probably within the next couple of months, the Christian mission outreach that we will do as part of that event in DC. So stay tuned. So listen, I want to give the two of you an opportunity to close us out tonight. And so if you have any words of wisdom, any wisdom nuggets that you want to share, go ahead.
Well, I'll just share with all of the authors what I share with all of the authors, and that is, in order to finish your book, you have to get started. And many of us, I understand, have a lot of questions so that we can get started. Use Pastor Steve and I as a resource. Reach out to us so that we can provide some help. We want you to be well on your way to your journey so that when you are finished, you'll feel fulfilled and confidence and boldness to now step out and write the next book. And that's really what it's all about. So get started so that you could finish. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We both provided our contact information. By all means, use us as a resource, and we'd be more than willing to help.
I would thank you, Dr. Johnson. I would say that it's always imperative to don't let your schedule, because I'm very busy, but I found time to write. You can do it too. When it becomes important to you, people always make time for what I always say, what they want to make time for. And when you realize that it's not about you, it's really for somebody else. That's why the seed was implanted in you to start writing, because it's for someone else. God is trying to motivate you to write, to help others. You are an ambassador, you're a minister, and you should join the Christian Authors on Tour, because great people like Dr. Johnson and even Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. is here, and you can be a part of this and be protected, because Dr. Lynn Pender will watch out for you. She will. I've got more marketing through her than anybody else. Matter of fact, and in the Blog Talk Radio, that's how I got my program started, and because someone suggested it to me, and I said, "What is Blog Talk?" And then I didn't realize, because I was slow mentally, that I was already on a Blog Talk with Dr. Pender way back when she started. Good God Almighty! And so, just saying, you're gonna be all right. You're gonna be fine. Just rely on us. Come on inside. Come on in the room where it's safe. Christian Authors on Tour. God bless you.
So thank you, everybody, for joining in. And wow, again, I just can't express my gratitude for the two of you for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom. And for those of you who are watching, thank you. And until next time, we hope to see you online August 9th, but we hope to see you in person December 9th. God bless everybody.